One other statesman we come from Adamawa State, wey name na Ibrahim Lawal Bashiru. Don't come outside, come talk say true. See the previous administration and the previous president will be saying name na Buhari. He dey careless, he do things anyhow. But the present administration no go fit still come outside, come blame am 100%. Why? Because the person will sit down for that seat will be say be the seat of the presidency now. He follow, he get hand for say Buhari enter that seat. And na still the same APC government. Buhari was careless, but Tinubu cannot blame him solely for current mess. Emeritus Prof speaks. Another statesman from Adamawa State and a retired director of studies at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies (NIPSS), Professor Emeritus Ibrahim Lawal Bashiru speaks with Imolayo Oyedeyi on the state of a nation and why former President Muhammadu Buhari should not be blamed by the current government for the country's problems. Aides and supporters of President Bola Tinubu have been blaming the current economic challenges of the country on the past Buhari administration. What is your take on it? He replied, "It has always been usual with Nigerians to cast aspersions on previous governments for their failure, but governance is a continuum. So you cannot separate Muhammadu Buhari's government from this present regime, particularly given the role President Tinubu played in Buhari's regime and the role his candidate, whom he gave to be accommodated in Buhari's cabinet, played as well. However, what brought us to where we are today, which significantly is the removal of petrol subsidy, was mooted during Buhari's time. But the former president vindicated himself when he told a BBC journalist who asked him why he would not take the World Bank's advice. He said, no, that though the World Bank advice was the right choice to take to address our ailment, he's not convinced that it will solve our problem. And that is why the former president left the subsidy issue intact. So I do not think Buhari can be blamed for this. Why don't Tinubu first study the situation and then put together a team of confidence to look at the issue and address this appropriately? But on the contrary, Tinubu on the day of the inauguration took the issue hook, like, and sinker without looking at its implication, and the impression this gave was that the president was just dancing to the gallery without knowing what to do to Nigerians socio-politically. Now look at where we are. No country will want to remove subsidies at that time when Nigeria does not produce any other thing other than crude oil, and crude oil money also goes back to the Western world as we buy all kinds of things from them. And Buhari said no, he was not going to do it. But when Tinubu came without any serious decision and serious consultation with the people, he pronounced the removal of the subsidy right on his inauguration day. And so we have this problem that we have today, such that the Naira has completely sunk deep vis-a-vis the dollar. But how can you cast aspersion on the Buhari's government or attribute failure to the previous administration? So how can you cast aspersion on the Buhari's government or attribute today's failure to the previous administration? Buhari had avoided the issue. But Tinubu said, no, that is cowardice. I am going to take the bull by the horns. And he took the bull by the horns and found himself on the ground, knocked down by the bull. This is where we are today. When going into the subsidy issue, he should have first found out who and who were being paid the subsidy. Can Tinubu go after these people if they're human beings behind the subsidy scandal? Mind you, it has been documented and it is even viral on social media that some people collected the subsidies. Why didn't the government first go after these people and get the money from them, or sell their assets and address the problems that this country is facing today? So he is just passing the box. And unreasonably, he cannot blame Buhari for what is happening today. This is because Buhari avoided doing the same because of its complications. But one of the huge blames Tinubu supporters have thrown at the Buhari administration is the excessive foreign loans it took, which cruelly plunged the country into severe debt crisis. Aren't they correct in this regard? They asked. Okay, but one of the huge blames Tinubu supporters have thrown at the Buhari administration is the excessive foreign loans it took, which cruelly plunged the country into a severe debt crisis. Aren't they correct in this regard? Having the courage in these regards, Imul Oyedeyi asks. In reply, the Emeritus Prof replied, you see, taking loans is not a crime. What becomes a crime for a country that takes the loan is whether or not the loan has been judiciously used to improve things and lay a foundation for a solid economy. But if you look at some of the gigantic projects that Buhari executed during this regime and the cost of such projects, you can see, yes, a lot of money went into them, and they're projects that have long and sustainable impacts on the Nigerian economy. Take the second Niger Bridge, for instance. How much did it cost the country? What are the roads constructed and the rail projects that the government delivered? How much did they cost the country? So Buhari definitely has something to show for the loans. Assuming there was nothing to show for them, then we can say Buhari was something else. Mind you, I'm not saying that the former president was not careless, because indeed he was careless by taking the loans to the extent that the servicing of the loans amounted to 3/4 of our national revenue. So no sensible leader would do that kind of thing, but Buhari did it, though he did not do it alone. He did it with a team. So if at all we must blame someone for the failure, it should be the entire Buhari government, including his team, and not just Buhari alone as a person. Oyedei asks, the Buhari administration only made provisions for 6 months of subsidy payment. There was nothing for the remaining 6 months of the year. How can Tinubu be blamed for pronouncing this removal of subsidy when it was widely known that its predecessor has strategically removed it? The Emeritus Prof, Mr. Bashar, replied, and do you know that it is the 6 months withdrawal of a subsidy that led us to where we are today? If Tinubu feels the Buhari government did not pay for the 6 months subsidy, the question he should have asked is, where's the money meant for the payment? He should have asked, where's the subsidy payment for the remaining 6 months is? This is because Buhari could not have gone out of power with it. You see, what we need to do in this country is to put our problems into proper perspective by finding out where the money goes. Believe me, there are lots of explanations to be made. People talk about oil stealing and corruption in real terms. We have heard people getting away with billions upon billions of naira in their accounts. Yet, the government does not have the guts to go after these people. Why can't we? It is the responsibility of a government to make sure that the state under their care is protected from all kinds of vices. Mr. Yede asked, in Nigeria we have the devices of corruption, and we know this, and we know those behind, but yet no leader wants to get at these people. Why? Is it that they are untouchables? Tinubu knows he has the documents and records of the Nigerian people with these people. Some of them are still alive. So why can't the government go after them? So it is an illicit conspiracy against the masses of Nigeria. For instance, look at Godwin Emefiele did to this country. But people are not talking about the former CBN governor. They're simply blaming Buhari. Of course, Buhari was his president, and he can be rightly accused of being careless and irresponsible to have allowed Emefiele to do what he did. My own be say, at the end of the day, all this back and forth interview, you know, will give us what we want. Anybody with they guilty, made them persecute them. That is my own. Instead of us talking, Buhari has his own blame, Tinubu has his own blame. We cannot sit down and keep disturbing, keep saying who gets the blame when nothing is actually being done to make the situation better. Alright, on this note, we've come to the end of the news. So thank you for tuning in to listen. Until I come your way next time, enjoy.